Alrighty, let's crack into it. So we'll start with the thought of the day. It's always nice to have something in mind when we're going through these things, so you can reflect on it as we go through. So it's critical that kids start to learn the value of money, short-term and long-term savings, and budgeting at an early age. So a lot of us as kids weren't taught anything about money. Money was a bit of a taboo subject. I know it was pretty open in my household, but I know a lot of families aren't. But it's not too late to learn, so that's what we're sort of here for today. I guess the pandemic and the current cost of living crisis has really sort of brought to light a lot of gaps in the business community's financial awareness and their skill set around that. So the best place to start is, doing some education and learning some skills yourself and passing them on to our kids so we can upskill the next generation. Sometimes sort of as accountants, we tend to focus more on the business budgets and forecasts and not so much the personal side. But at the end of the day, that's what you're there for. We get a lot of questions when we're running through accounts, like, did I really spend that much when you're looking at your drawings or whatever? So it's a good place to start. Let me click through. Hang on, my slides aren't clicking through. I just realised I'm on the wrong slide. Sorry, 1 second. Technical difficulties. Close that one. And start again. There we go. That's better. Cool. So good financial skills, and I guess having some good discipline around your finances involves having a personal budget. It's a place to start, I guess. And it's pretty hard to set a budget for your business if you don't know how much it costs to run your life and what you want out of your long-term wealth creation plan. So this morning the plan is to cover understanding what we mean by personal budgeting. It's important to define it in a way that makes sense to you. The obvious as well as the unexpected benefits of having a personal budget. Key elements, what information do you need to put into it and what will you get out. How to complete your personal budget with our template. So we've got a free template, or there's also various apps and online options. The personal budget template that I'll give you at the end is just a self-help option. How to create an accountability structure so that you stick to your budget as much as possible. Next steps as a result of the webinar, like what are you going to do next? What support we can offer if you don't want to go alone. And obviously send your questions in as you go, and I'll answer them at the end. So, clicking through. So what is a personal budget? This is a definition, and it's a useful definition because it makes 3 important distinctions. So I'll quickly read it out. A personal budget is a finance plan that allocates future personal income towards expenses, savings, and debt repayment. So firstly, it's a personal plan, personal budget, quite different from business budget, obviously. Personal budget is not something you create and chuck in your bottom drawer, as with all the development services that I recommend. They should be living documents, and this is no different. It's an actionable plan. It's something you follow it, and you will actually achieve the goals. It's not something you do once a year and then forget about, and then pull it out at the end of the next year and go, why did I spend so much money? And it's forward facing, so it's sort of 12 months. You don't want to go too much further than that because things change. Break it down into months, allocate your personal income, salaries, drawings, dividends, any other personal incomes, rentals, whatever you've got in your life, and allocating that towards your personal expenses and savings, retirement savings, and reduction of debt. So it's just figuring out where that's going to go. It's a plan that basically it's just a plan that lays out how you'll spend and save money. So bringing it down to real basics. Cool. So the benefits. Obviously, there's quite a few benefits of having a personal budget. Some of these are pretty obvious and financially focused, which makes sense. Others sort of more around reducing stress, improving communication with your significant other. And it comes back to one of the key freedoms that I often talk about, which is mind freedom, which is that stress and the pressure of not knowing, giving you back that control. The value in having more control is just totally underrated of your financial future. A lot of people just float along, living week to week with no real plan. So having a budget brings your focus back onto something that you can have control over. As I said at the beginning, personal budgeting helps you focus on your money goals and creates better awareness of where your money is going. Sometimes with a bit of a shock factor at the start. And yeah, a lot of people are just like, where do we spend all that money? And they don't understand why their drawings are so high. But you're not alone if you've had that thought and wondered where all your money's gone. It's just not something that people are necessarily highly skilled at, and it's just something that you can learn and work with. So I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes, an hour a month will give you so much better control over what's going on and understanding. And obviously everyone knows the old saying that knowledge is power. So if you can learn it and you can understand it, you can control it. So having money goals and an awareness of how much money you're spending and on what helps you create better money habits and helps you manage your debt levels. So that's obviously, there's good debt and bad debt. So getting rid of that bad debt can be a priority, and helping understanding where that bad debts come from and how to quickly get rid of it is helpful. And that helps you obviously achieve your wealth goals. So what's your long-term plan? What do you want to do? Saving for retirement? You want a new car? You want to pay off your mortgage? What's your plan? It pays to think about those things, because if you don't, they don't happen. It acts as an early warning system. So it gives you an idea of when you're going to have big fluctuations of incomes and spending. It gives you just that better control over when you can plan for things. It's important for communication. It's a great tool if you've got a spouse, a partner of some sort, especially if you've got different money habits, because financial conflicts are one of the top three, most common conflicts in a relationship, along with parenting and sex. So, I'd probably put parenting up there a bit higher, but that's just me because it's hard work. Yeah. So if at the end of the day, if you have a budget and you use it as part of your overall wealth creation strategy, you'll end up with a lot better off and with a lot less conflict and stress in your life. So I guess the $1 million question is, if having a personal budget is such a smart thing to do, why don't we all do it? So that leads into our next question, which is why people avoid it. They're the top, 7 reasons. There's probably plenty more, depending on who you are, but a lot of people think it's extra work and a lot of hard work, but it doesn't have to be. Little things you can do to make things easy for yourself. So try and keep all your personal spending from 1 or 2 bank accounts, so it's not spread all over a million places. Try and keep your business and personal spending separate, so that doesn't muddy the waters. And then so that makes it easier. So you've only got 1 or 2 spending sources to track. So a template, so like a budget template, makes things a lot easier. You don't have to set it up from scratch and figure out what you're doing. So as I said, I'll give you one at the end of this, and work through that as an example and further on. Or you could use a budgeting app. There's like Wally, Good Budget. There's Pocketsmith, which is a New Zealand-based budgeting app that has bank feeds, kind of like Xero. I've used it myself in the past, so it's quite good. Or you could even go the next step, which is get a personal budgeting coach. and do like a program like the likes of Enable Me. If you've heard of them, they're personal budget specialists, I guess. Although that's not for everyone, it's sort of a bigger step, but a lot of people don't know the limits they feel like a budget is going to put on them. So think of it more of a spending plan instead of a budget. It's kind of the exact opposite of confining, because it gives you permission to spend the money on the things that you've allocated to. So you don't have to worry about bills and the things like that, because you're like, okay, this week I've got $100 to spend on clothes or whatever. You've allocated funds for that, and if you can spend that because everything else is taken care of. It kind of takes away the fear that you might run out of money before the end of the month or before your next payday. A lot of people don't know where to start. Like then a simple budgeting tool or an online training program of some sort is a pretty good place to start. Conflict, fear of conflict, putting the subject of money on the table. That can hold a lot of people back. I know there's lots of different spending types of people out there, like money types, I guess. So getting those to line up can be tricky. But if you've got a budget that you can work on together to work with both sets of spending habits, it can help resolve those conflicts because you've already decided ahead of time what you're going to do. And it helps your relationship with money. It can be a bit scary at first because you don't know what you're going to find. Finding out how much you spend on coffee or takeaways could be a bit horrifying, I guess, for some people. But sticking your head in the sand isn't going to help either. So yeah, as I said, knowledge is power. So if you know what it is and what it's costing you, and you get a shock from it, then it might be worth changing that habit slightly so that you can put some of that extra money into debt reduction, future savings, investments, whatever. Pride. Some people don't think they need a budget, but it's not really worth ruining your financial future because you have got this weird notion that you don't need a spending plan. Everyone can do with a spending plan. I'm pretty sure Warren Buffett probably has a spending plan to make sure he can, give away all his money, hopefully. It's very easy to let it slide. It's way more fun to sit down and watch a movie than sit down and do your budget. But if you do something like set a calendar reminder once a month, spend an hour or so each month reviewing and reflecting, then you'll come out a lot better off and have a much better, healthier relationship with money. So I guess understanding the benefits and building those habits around taking the time is the key for good financial savviness, I guess. Alrighty. So I guess the first step is like what's in a personal budget? What do we need? So you need your income and your expenses, obviously, ins and outs. Generally cash in and out. We don't need to go into anything else than just what's going in and out. So yeah, you could do that in an Excel spreadsheet. The template that I'll give you a copy of is an Excel spreadsheet, or one of the budgeting apps that I mentioned before. Or even some banks are building some budgeting software or some tracking software into their platforms. So you could look to your bank and see if there's anything in there that you could use. I know BNZ have got one. I haven't looked too deeply into it, but there's definitely some robustness coming to their bank's offering. So first, you need to enter your monthly income, and then your expenses in the categories that make sense to you and how you live, so that you can see how much of your income needs to be allocated towards food, transport, mortgage repayments, etc., etc. It can be quite empowering. But it's a skill. It's not easy to get right at the start. It can take a while to get your head around exactly what you need, but basing it on historical information is probably the easiest way to go. The monthly income side is usually pretty easy for most people because you know what you're getting, you know what your wages are, you know what your drawings are going to be from the business, give or take any other sources of income. So it's the spending side that can be a bit trickier for some people. So a good place to start is to look through your bank accounts. You can pull them out into Excel, sort them however you'd like to try and group and get an idea of the categories. So like supermarket, you probably only shop at one or two places for your groceries. So that can be easy to sort of group together and get a bit of an average for the last 12 months. Things like that. And it's a task at the start, but it's often quite eye-opening to see where everything's going. When you're thinking about that, you need to make sure you've got your big ticket items like insurances, rates, vehicle servicing, things like that are going to come out in big chunks during the year. Or they might be monthly payments, but I can't imagine many people vehicle services are monthly payment. Things like that. So and your rates, obviously those often are lumpy payments. So it's planning for those when they fall due. And when you're looking at your debt repayments, your mortgage payments or consumer spending type repayments, this is a good chance to see, okay, can I up it? Can I decrease it? What do I need to do to plan for the future? So like if you've got a budget and you've got a plan, you're like, oh, maybe I can put my mortgage repayments up a little bit to, reduce the impact of, or is my interest rate going to go up at some time during the year, and do I need to plan for that? Your personal, it's obviously a personal budget, so it's what are you going to do with it at the end of the day? It could be that you want to accumulate extra cash to invest it in your business or other investments you might have, pay down debt, buy a new car, save for your children's university fees, whatever, or save for their house in the future or whatever. Whatever stage you're at in life, it's personal budget, so it just needs to sort of fall into your overall wealth creation plan and be with your family goals, like what's your plan? Do you want a holiday? Things like that. So it just gives you the ability to put those things in and see if they're realistic or not. So the next step we're going to do is jump in and I'll show you the template. So I'm going to just up over here for a second. Hopefully you can see that. Yep, cool, looks good. So if we go into the personal budget tab, there are some detailed instructions on the front. So if you don't quite get it all from this, you can have a read through those and plan. So we hit begin budget, will take us down there. So if we put our name, say some random names, put in your budget year. So you might want to run it with your financial year to coincide with your business budget. You might want to run it as a calendar year. So you might put the end of December. So 2024, you might change that to 2023. Whatever, it's personal. So you choose your time frame, and that just gives you a bit of a guide of where it's going to be. So once you've got your name and everything in there, you can hit begin budget. So it will take you down. So you've got your income section at the top here. Ideally, you'll know what's coming in when. You can change the names of these if you'd like to whatever. You can, if the easiest way to enter it is to enter it in the frequencies here, because that will just populate out through those months. So for these here, we'll just pop those in. Say we're taking 10,000 a month. So you can see it's populated through here. And say you're getting some rental income, you can pop that in here. It's not really, it's up to you whether you'd want to build your rental expenses into here, or just put a net income in here based on roughly what you end up with after the month. So you end up with 200 a month after all the expenses. So you can either build it into here with the expenses, or build it in just after all the expenses. Cool. So next step is the expenses. You can type in here. It doesn't say you're going to pay out a $5,000 dividend from your business at that point. It doesn't override. This still works. After that, it will just override it once you've if you need to change it next year. So we've broken down these into household, food, apparel, children, medical, insurance, transport, lifestyle, debt payments, and other. So you can overtype all of these. There's an other at the bottom of each section as well, or you can just overtype any of the ones that don't apply. So probably scrolling around a bit fast here, but and you can set them as monthly, weekly, whenever. So like rates you might want to put in, so 2,000 in March and 2,000 in September, something like that. Just depends on when those are paid. And something like water rates and things like that, you might need to go to your bank account to find out when you paid them last. Pull that information out. So start with our household expenses. I'm just going to chuck in some numbers just so you can see how it works. So if we say mortgage interest, this is interest, but you could use it as a you could do it as mortgage repayment, because at the end of the day, it's a cash plan. So personally, I would put in my total mortgage payments so that I know what cash surpluses I've got, and have a separate way of keeping track of the wealth building, which is obviously taking into account the principal portions that you're paying off. So let's say we're paying fortnightly, I don't know, $800 fortnight. Electricity, gas, heating, so we pay that monthly. For something like this, you would probably be better off it will give you a better result for cash spending if you were to plan it, because obviously it goes up in the winter, down in the summer generally. So you might be better off to pull this information off your internet banking to get a feel for when the cash is going to go out. So you might say $200 a month. We might, pay $100 a month for our home internet. Remembering that some of these things might be factored into your business budget, so you don't need to double count them. So if your mobile phones are paid via your business, you don't need to count them in here. You might have a cleaner that comes in weekly. Wish we all had cleaners. And we can change it to weekly and say it's like $25 a week. So that you might pay $10 a month bank fees and whatever else comes in and out. You might have rubbish waste management. There you go, got that there. So yeah, so that builds to total there. Oops. Oh. Where am I going? Come back. Go back. Sorry, technical difficulties. There we go. Oh, okay. That doesn't like me to scroll in here. It's okay. That's okay. We've kind of done what we needed to anyway. So you would go through, fill in the categories that were relevant to you, overtype whatever you needed. You might put coffee in here as a separate one from. We might have lunches and dining out if you buy lunch regularly or things like that to get a feel for the differences. Some of these might not apply. Like if you don't have children, obviously this section's probably not going to apply. medical, that might be more lumpy, depending on what you need coming up. Insurances, obviously, you don't have pets, then you're not going to have pet insurance, things like that. It's just a matter of going through, sort of filling these out, pulling these out, what's relevant for you. Bearing in mind for like the likes of transport, if your vehicle's owned by your company, you wouldn't put those costs in here, and so on and so forth. So that you can see that's built up a bit of data in our little graphs at the top here. You can see we've got 2% of our income is from rental, most is from business drawings, annual expenses, household. So that's kind of, obviously we haven't put anything else in any of the other sections. So I'll just put $200 a month in here, and you can see that builds out that a bit more, gives us a bit more category, and it gives you an overall annual cash surplus. That would be nice, but it's not realistic for most people. So once you've built that out, it's a bit of a, it's a job, but it will make you feel quite empowered what you're going to do over the next 12 months. On the actual performance, this is where the real goal comes in, because this is where we track. So the budget is not flowed through. Let me just double check that. Just need to be careful with the macros on this when you open the spreadsheet. There are some instructions at the start, and I thought I'd fix them. They don't seem to flow through. Let's change this. Okay. Maybe I need to put something in here. There we go. So we need to actually fill in the actuals for the budget numbers to pull through. And that'll just trigger those numbers to come through. So if you start filling it in, all right, I'll zoom in a bit. I'm not sure if this is too small on your screens there. Yeah, so you start filling this in as you go, and that's where you try at the beginning of the month. So if we're doing this for next financial year, we would change that, sorry, to 31 March. On the 1st of May, or early the first week of May, we would run through our bank account and go, okay, yep, so I took drawings of 12,000. I got rental income of 150 after my expenses and things. Which interest was that? Because that should be pretty bang on. Phone was that. Electricity was only 150. Cleaner, they missed a week, so it was only 250, etc. And if we scroll right to the end, it builds up. Well, what's going on? It doesn't want to go there. It builds up a variance. So the variance is where you've underspent, or when you've under received or overspent, will give you a red number, and when you've underspent, will give you a green number. So if I change that to say 250, it will give us a red number of the -50. So that shows we've overspent on that category by 50. So you can see how powerful that can be if you come to the bottom and you've got a red number. That means you've overspent your cash in that month or in that period year to date. So that's where you might need to pull back on some of the other ones or some categories for the next month. So it's just a tracking tool, I guess. You might need to make some tweaks because some stuff is hard to budget for. And you may need to adjust your spending somewhere to get what you sort of want. So I'll show you a sort of a completed one. just that to the side. You can see that. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit. Cool. So this one, this is what sort of it would look like finished. You've got your budget on your first page there. Everything's all filled in. It's got a total percentage of your income, what you're spending on when, and then final, like at the end of the year. This is giving you an idea of your cash ins and outs for the month. And you can see that most of the categories are good, like they've come in under budget, which is ideal, and they've ended up with expensive 333, so they've ended up meeting their targets. Oops. So that budgeted for actual cash surplus of 25k, and they're budgeted for 18. So it's quite detailed, and as I say, you fill it in to suit you. Obviously, it can be a bit tricky, so if you need some help, just shout out. Let's go back into the slides. Cool. So hopefully that made sense. If not, flip through some questions into the chat. So the next step, I guess, is the accountability piece, which is key to any plan, really, is having some sort of tracking afterwards. So yeah, there's not much point preparing it if you don't actually monitor against it. And preparing it, there's lots of value in preparing it, but the bigger value comes from improving your longer term habits, and having a better relationship with your money, and being able to have those open discussions. Just like any project, if you don't do the monitoring part at the end, it's just about as important, if not more important, than the planning. For some couples, and various relationships, discussions about spending, budgeting are pretty normal. But as I said, when your money behavior is different, can be quite tense and bring up various emotions and things. So that's where an external facilitator can help setting your budget and reviewing it. Total non-judgmental sounding board. Like, no one's going to judge you for how you spend your money. That's not how the industry works. It's just about helping you achieve your financial goals and your wealth plan. So if you were looking for some independent accountability on a regular basis, then I would recommend Enable Me in Tauranga. I've got, acquaintance there who's really, really great. She just wants, her tagline is getting your retirement ready. So she just wants to make sure people are set for their futures. Alternatively, for less regular catch-ups, I can offer for my coaching clients, like an annual review of your personal budget and a check-in and a coaching session. And I guess as part of this, try to have fun. It shouldn't be super serious. But celebrate your wins. If you beat your budget by $200, then go and spend $100 on a massage or something. Like, it's your money at the end of the day, and if you're meeting your goals, then why not? Celebrate if you get your mortgage down to a certain point, and that was part of your plan. Life's supposed to be fun, so enjoy it. And money can be stressful, so we need to make it more fun. Make it a game if you want. You know, if you meet your targets for a certain number of months, you know, you get a star chart or a pom-pom in the jar or something. Get a certain number and you get a little reward. There's lots of fun things you can do. And if you have got children, thinking about involving them, not hiding it from them. Have your conversations with them around. Make it normal. Make it to discuss money in your relationship. Make it normal to talk about things that are changing in the economy. Make it normal to go, oh, the interest rates are going up. We're going to need to tweak our spending, or we're going to need to whatever. Like, it just take the scariness out of money for your kids, because it's so many kids are going into adulthood with just no clue around debt, around what compound interest is and things like that. If you need some help on that, I have got some books and things that I can lend in my library to help demystify some of it. It's such an important part of our lives, as much as a lot of us don't want it to be. It is, and having that knowledge is just gives you so much more comfort around making these decisions. Cool. So I guess the next steps from here is think about the benefits. Focus on your personal spending. It can be quite confrontational, but remember those benefits around the control and around the taking away some of the stress and the pressure, and knowing where your money's going to go. Don't worry about someone judging you. It's, that's not a thing. And remember that it's personal. It just reflects your decisions about how you spend your earnings, and they're your earnings. So at the end of the day, you do you. But just keep in mind that you obviously do want to get rid of any of that bad debt, try and reduce mortgages and things like that as you can. Savings, putting some thought into the future, what you want. The colleague acquaintance that I've got at Enable Me, she likes to freak people out by telling them that they need about 1.5 million per person for a comfortable retirement. That's planning for about 25 years-ish of living with travel and the things that people like to do. The pension provides about 500k of that over that period. There's no guarantee that will still be around in 20, 30 years time, but at this point that's what it does. So there's a big gap there for a lot of people, and you don't want to be living on beans and toast if you can help it when you retire. There's that's where your overall wealth creation plan needs to factor those sorts of things in. Like, I'm downsizing my house, I can release some capital out of that. I'll sell my business, it'll be worth X, things like that. So it's just around, what are you doing now to set yourself up for then. Don't really want to freak people out, but there's a reality in life as well that it costs money to live. So I guess instead of thinking about the roadblocks of why you can't do it, it's remember that there's better control, better focus, better awareness of where your money's going, improving those money habits, and ultimately achieving your goals for your wealth. Focus on the expenses that you can control and want to control. There's no point putting limits in that are going to be unrealistic, because you'll just won't follow them. And obviously get some support if you need it, if you need some help with accountability. So how we can help is a personal budget review. So that's basically you do your template, or you do your pocket smith or whatever, and then I review it and go, yep, that looks reasonable. Have you thought about this, things like that, and give you some feedback. If you want a coaching session along with that to help you build some better understanding, maybe borrow the money book, things like that, then that's a little bit extra. So that's a $7.50. So the personal budget template, which I'll send at the end, is a really great place to start. The spreadsheet is very robust, so you should be good to go. Or for like my business clients, I offer a 1 hour complimentary meeting for the ones that aren't on any sort of coaching. So that just helps you set some business goals and think through what you want to get over the next 12 months. Yeah, so that's sort of the services that we can wrap around the personal side of things. And I have got definitely one client that I know that's going to be doing some personal budget coaching this year, and that's just because she's getting, nearing retirement, not super close, but needs to start getting her A into G to plan for that. And just get some good habits around money, I think. Have some accountability. Cool. So, any questions? Whoops, chat box. I have got one that I have been asked in the past. It was around the easiest way to sort of get the historical data, to help set the realistic targets for the next year. And the easiest way is to probably, if ideally your spending is relatively tidy, but export the data from the bank. So you could take that out as a CSV, or generally it'll come out as a CSV, open it in Excel or whatever numbers, which is the Mac version, and sort it. And that will generally put like sort of things together. So it'll sort it, if you shop at Pack and Save, all your Pack and Save expenses will go together. And you can cut and paste things into the same section to try and get an average. So like your power provider would probably be the same provider throughout the year. So that's easy to put those together and get an average, or sort it by date and get a bit of a graph of how that happens throughout the period. The things that might be a bit trickier might be the likes of entertainment type expenses, eating out, things like that. That'll all be from all over the place, but you can generally get a bit of an idea of from that export. If you need some help with that, just shout out. A lot of people don't know Excel very well, but yeah, it is a powerful tool, and it will give you the data. It's just knowing what to do with that data afterwards. Cool. So if there's no more questions, I will hop on to the next slide. So I guess to take the fear out of it, think about the budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where you went. And that's all about taking back that power, taking back that control of planning for it rather than freaking out afterwards. And it's all around what I promote in general, which is future looking stuff. It's like, what are we going to do and how are we going to make sure it happens? So yeah, it gives you back that control. Cool. All right. So thank you very much for hanging in there with me. A few technical difficulties in the middle there, but we got through. I know your time is valuable, so thank you very much. And I will flick you through a little survey at the end to get a bit of feedback, and let me know if there's any future topics that you'd like to see. Hopefully I've given you some ideas to think about and some sort of clear next steps to give you back that control and get your personal expenses and personal budgeting to become a part of your life on a regular basis. So thank you very much and have a great day.